Welcome to the Real CP Show. I'm your host, CP. And today's topic, this former Anglo police chief, Rapus Murdererr, had escaped from an Arkansas prison. Now, if this was a Black American man, it would have been the N-word this and N-word that and DEI and affirmative action that, if that. Because once they would have heard anything about a Black American man and he robbed this Anglo innocent woman, or he sit there and murder this innocent guy, they'd have been like, rope that Negro up. Rope him up. Right? But of course, the super double, triple, quadrupleness of hypocrisy. This was a very violent former police chief who also worked at some other agencies as well. A very violent murdererness. So he was double violent. And the thing about it is, if he was a Black American man, again, that's if he would have survived once he did one of those things. I make this point in that it was a very interesting situation as well. Today is July the 21st, 2025. Because there's no, when he got captured, when this violent cretin got captured, there was no shaming, there was no uncomfortability, feelings that they were saying, oh my goodness, look at the numbers of Anglo males. They're so violent. They're so sinister. It didn't make numbers of Anglo males, the ones it applies to, it didn't make numbers of them feel uncomfortable. It didn't make people watch them close after this horribleness in those places that this horrible former police chief did, that heinous act of murdererness and the rapus of that woman. It didn't make numbers of Anglo males in those various areas walk with their head down. Nope. There was no, oh my goodness, even though he's a former police chief, he was anti-law enforcement. You see how that goes. The hypocrisy is very real. I was trying to figure out how I want to sit there and show. I can show this particular video of what they were talking about, and I'm show an article. But before I do this, let me just throw this out. See, the thing about it, you got people that are latecomers to America's history, America in general. They're latecomers. And there are numbers of Black adjacent ones who know they are. They don't know not a freaking thing about Black American history. Nothing. Don't even know real American history. But the ones that's Black adjacent ones, right, that try to hide under the Black banner, right, that they're Black when it's convenient to be Black. But when I keep saying the same thing, but when I'm showing these couple of videos, but when Black comes toward them, they pew, or they be like, whoa, I'm not Black American. I am of this particular country. I come from in Africa. I'm of that particular Caribbean island part of it. No. I'm not Black American. Cowards. The ones who know who they are that do that. Right? And it's like numbers of Black Americans better start jumping on, not violent, start jumping on mentality-wise of people who are sitting there scamming under a Black banner, scamming and talking about basically American Black while they trying to pretend to be Black underneath there when it's a beneficial thing. Right? Let me sit there and show this particular first video. I'm going to get to the main point, But I'm just keep that in mind. And don't get me wrong, border break illegal immigrant type personnel, oh, they couldn't even handle this, and they couldn't handle what would be happening to American blacks, or what has continued to happen. Numbers of immigrationist type person are the ones it applies to, right? They get all kind of resources and benefits, open up businesses and schooling, and I mean, this goes on, right? And how many are told don't tell people what you get a lot of times, right? The list goes on. So when black pain keeps happening to black Americans, you got people that's quiet. Or they say, oh my goodness, black American people always talking about racism. Why it's not happening to them? But when the situations do happen, oh my goodness, people are anti-immigrationist, people are anti-Hispanic, people don't like migrants. Oh, they don't like me because I'm, come from certain parts of Africa. Oh, they don't like me because I come from certain parts of Jamaica. Oh my God, but they ain't gonna sit there and say that. They'll sit there and say they don't like black people. But I just have to be Jamaican, or I just have to be certain parts of Africa. You see how that goes. Bob, let me just go ahead and show this. Let me just go ahead and show something. Right, give me a second here. Let me share my screen. It is beyond ridiculous and it's irritating that unfortunately millions within American blackism that do allow people to sit there and show blatant disrespect to American blackism and people that hide under the black banner. But at the same time, again, when it comes down to sit there and fighting against racism, terrorism, they just hide behind black banner, they disappear. Right? So if I get into the main part of this story, because it's very important history as a timepiece purpose. Since this was in Arkansas, right? Oh, you best believe there's people in Arkansas that knows what's going on. Also, people that left Arkansas, right, moved from different other places, and they say, "Oh, you best believe the various parts of Arkansas. Oh, you best believe there's racism, terrorism going to certain various types of American blacks in various places. You best believe still going on in 2025, right? So let me sit there in 21st century, by the way, easily." Let me sit there and share my screen before I get to the main point, a main storyline. Give me a second here. Let me show this one first. Hold on. You know what? Hold on for a second. Which one should I show? I'm gonna show this one first. No, hold on. Right here. Let me share this one. What does that say? Arkansas County Sheriff resigns. All right, so let me make sure. All right, let me go ahead and play this. Hold on.
Tonight, the Arkansas County Sheriff resigns after a video of him using racial slurs makes the rounds on social media. Good evening, everyone. Glad you're with us for Fox 16 News at 5:30. I'm Donna Terrell.
I'm Kevin Kelly. This morning, the Arkansas County Quorum Court called a special meeting calling for his resignation. Our Claire Kreitz joining us live in studio with more from that meeting. Claire.
Yeah, that's right. At first, Sheriff Todd Wright held his ground, saying he didn't mean it the way it came off and he would not resign. After more community members took the podium expressing their feelings about the video and the racial slurs he used, he ultimately changed his mind and resigned effective immediately. Nothing but cheers coming from the lawn outside the Arkansas County Courthouse as Todd Wright took his final walk as sheriff.
Thankfully, with everyone's help, he decided to resign today, effective today.
County Judge Eddie Best says his resignation comes after this video circulated on social media.
Why you gotta holler when I'm around?
In it, Wright can be heard saying a racial slur at least 8 times. In it, Wright media.
Why you gotta holler when I'm around?
In it, Wright can be circulated on social media.
Why you gotta holler when I'm around?
In it, Wright can be heard saying a racial slur at least 8 times.
And for him to come out like that, it was just heartening because I know, that hurt a lot of people's feelings.
This is like my first time ever having to deal with any type of racism.
was Felix.
This is like my first time ever having to deal with any type of racism.
Dominate.
And here's the thing about it. And he looks like he's still a young adult. And he got reminded. Now, no telling if he thought that, oh my goodness, people, he would hear maybe some black folks talking about racism, terrorism going on to American blacks. I'm just relaying, and he really didn't pay attention to that. And, he didn't have it directly and stuff like that. And, this is, a new time. Maybe he means a millennium, or maybe he's one of those, whatever the different groups and stuff like that. Right. And he felt maybe, I don't worry about no stuff like that. We just, people, people are humans. And he got reminded of black pain. And I feel no sympathy for him. Right? I feel no sympathy. Because it never stopped. And unfortunately, these type of young adults were never taught reality that's still going on with racism, terrorism going on toward American blacks.
Clark says he is the person Wright is referring to in the video.
People like myself.
Referring to in the video.
People like myself, scared to go outside, scared to drive a vehicle, scared to walk past a cop, for, fear of being profiled just because you're black.
In a special called quorum court meeting, court and community members spoke up calling for his resignation.
Someone got to his heart, and he decided to step down.
Clark says he's happy Wright is out of office, but wonders about the rest of the department.
It makes you think about the whole force.
Judge Beth says he hopes this swift action proves the county will not tolerate racism going forward.
And you hear the last part. Well, going forward, isn't that very interesting how that's usually used? But the point is, look at this right here. Right? This is the former police chief right here. This former police chief who also worked at various enforcement agencies. Could you imagine the type of hatred he also showed Black Americans? Huh? Not someone because they're from parts of Africa. I don't think so. Not because, this person else maybe from Jamaica. I'm just giving an example. Because first of all, you're going to have that many Jamaicans in Arkansas in the first place. You surely ain't going to have various parts of African personnel, the ones applies to in Arkansas. Right? Especially little small town stuff like that. But imagine that this heinous creature of a Ku Klux Klan mentality, the kind of stuff he also has done toward American blacks. Right? But whatever on that. Right? But he murdered one of ours. No, can't have that. And then he robbed one of our Anglo women. Oh, no. We can't have that. You see how that goes, right? Manhunt time, right? But when it's something dealing with Black Americans, right? And the hatred toward Black Americans, it's like, I guess on that. And this is why it is a insultingness that you got some personnel that are Black adjacent hodders that ran and fled from certain section of the ancient continent of Africa, left family, left friends, left people that look like them because they could not sit there and get things situated in their homeland without a tribalism. And some of the ones that left from some of the beautiful Caribbean islands, and I'm talking about some main ones, right? There are certain ones like Jamaica, some beautiful people, beautiful place, but there are also some fleers that have this anti-American Black hatred, but fled from a beautiful place because they couldn't get things situated over there and have the nerve to talk about Black Americans. Right? No, talking about racism. But some of them that get a little bit of experience of racial racism. Oh my goodness, where the Black American people at? Go to hell for the ones who do that. Oh, they know who they are. Now, to some of the good brothers and sisters, credit given to them. They know who they are. So, last one I want to show you in this particular part before I get to the main part is that, let me share my screen on that. Give me a second here. Give me one moment. Let me share my screen here for the last one. Okay. This is an Arkansas too that happened not a long time ago. This is still 21st century that this happened. What it says at the bottom: Arkansas woman concerned of actual racial racism hatred of her by symbolism as well. And watch the excuses that were given. Second.
Police officers at Nedra Cook's Truman, Arkansas home this afternoon after she says her neighbor, Steve Howard Jr., drove up and pointed a gun at her.
It was meant to intimidate me, and it did.
Today's incident, part of an ongoing feud that centers on this, a Confederate flag that was put up next to Cook's house with a message that reads, "Watch this." Cook says Howard flew that flag after she says she felt threatened and installed a security camera with a message that was put up next to Cook's house. A Confederate flag that was put up next to Cook's house with a message that reads, "Watch this." Cook says Howard flew that flag after she says she felt threatened and installed a security camera on the side of her home,
so we could watch and see what was going on.
The feud dates back to October when Howard and his friends allegedly built a bonfire and Cook complained.
I was worried about, because the wind was blowing and those little flickers of flame were traveling in the wind. I was worried about catching my house on fire.
Cook also claims the burn violated city ordinance, so she called the fire department.
They came out here and they put it out,
but
he continued to burn on other days.
And she kept calling the fire department.
They came out here at least 4 times.
One night after fire officials left, Cook claims she overheard Howard planning a drive-by shooting at her home.
And then he said, well, when we come back, we're going to wear our robes.
So she put up the security camera.
Then he said, well, when we come back, we're going to wear our robes.
So she put up the...
And then he said, well, when we come back, we're going to wear our robes.
So she put up the security camera and Howard put up the flag.
Cook took pictures of
the security camera and Howard put up the flag.
Cook took pictures of the sign and says she gave them to the Poinsett County Deputy Prosecuting Attorney. She also says she filed an affidavit against Howard.
Howard's grandfather says the case goes to court Monday, but claims the allegations against his grandson are ridiculous.
It's just a blowed up bunch of there was no
goes to court Monday, but claims the allegations against his grandson are ridiculous.
It's just a blowed up bunch of there was no drive-bys, gun threats.
Is he racist?
No.
The security camera and Howard put up the flag.
Cook took pictures of the sign and says she gave them to the Poinsett County
Day, but claims the allegations against his grandson are ridiculous.
It's just a blowed up bunch of there was no drive-bys, gun threats.
Is he racist?
No.
But this is a nonsense that consistently has to happen. Consistently happens toward Black Americans. The ones applies on a daily basis. I'm not talking about coons and sellouts and gullible ones and naive ones. I make this point because you saw the excuses with this that could have been almost like a Klan member, a Klan-like mentality, making excuses for his grandson who had a Confederate freaking flag or Confederate symbolism on that little on the property, by the property of that particular Black woman. That's in Arkansas. This is 21st century stuff I'm showing you. 21st century is from what? Basically 2000 to 2025. This shows you too. Now, in this situation with this former police chief, to imagine how many Black American people has he shown hatred to. Now, relating to what he's done, the heinousness of that, right? manhunt, got to sit there and capture this rapist murder, right, of one of our kind, right? But again, if this is American black, he probably been roped and lynched. So that goes. So let me go ahead and share my screen for this video. Oh, excuse me, for one of the main videos I want to share relating to this topic. Give me one moment here. One moment here. One moment here. Oh, what did I do with it? Hold on. Oh, here we go. All right. Make sure I get this right here. All right. Make sure I got that right. Okay.
An escaped murderer known as the Devil in the Ozarks, captured after nearly 2 weeks on the run. Arkansas law enforcement officers announcing that Grant Hardin, a former police chief serving a decades-long prison sentence, is back in custody. Take a look at these just released pictures of when Hardin was found. You see him there hiding out in the woods, surrounded by law enforcement. This is the image of the moment Hardin escaped from prison on Sunday, May 25th, disguised, you see him there, as a law enforcement officer. The escape triggering a massive manhunt in northern Arkansas, officials saying he was discovered just a mile and a half west of the prison he was being held in. The question tonight, how was he able to evade police for so long? NBC's George Solis joins us tonight with the breaking details. George, walk us through this.
Yeah, Tom. So this, as you mentioned, ends a 2-week search for Hardin. The man known as the Devil of the Ozarks was captured. Hardin, the man known as the Devil of the Ozarks, ends a 2-week search for Hardin. The man known as the Devil of the Ozarks was captured this afternoon by Arkansas law enforcement and with the help of U.S. border near Moccasin Creek in Izard County, Arkansas. This is roughly a mile and a half from the facility he had initially escaped from in Calico Rock, Arkansas, back on May 25th. Officials telling us his identity was confirmed by fingerprint analysis. Now, according to authorities, tracking dogs were able to pick up Hardin's scent, and ultimately, Hardin himself, his capture ends nearly a 2-week manhunt that included hundreds of local, state, and federal agencies. Authorities say Hardin, who was a former Arkansas police chief who was convicted of past rape and murder, had walked out of that facility itself. His capture ends nearly a 2-week manhunt that included hundreds of local, state, and federal agencies. Authorities say Hardin, who was a former Arkansas police chief who was convicted of past rape and murder, had walked out of that facility after he disguised himself in that makeshift law enforcement uniform. Now, an image of him in that outfit pushing that wheeled cart was that last known sighting before the escape. Now, law enforcement officials acknowledging his background in law enforcement had made the search much more difficult. But tonight, Tom, he is back in custody.
And George, I understand you have a bit of new reporting that's just in. Arkansas's Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders just released a statement about the arrest.
Yeah, that's right, Tom. I have it here in front of me. In that statement, she says, thanks to the great work of local, state, and federal law enforcement, Arkansas can breathe a sigh of relief. And I can confirm that violent criminal Grant Hardin is back in custody. She goes on to say, I am grateful for all the law enforcement who contributed to his capture, even given
So you see already on this situation, I had it on mute for a while. Wow. So my thing about it is, for what I just showed, my thing about it is that was white on white crime on that video. So it's like, where's all those people that be talking about black on black crime, black on black crime, black on black crime, right? You see how that goes. They're quiet, or they try to deflect. But always trying to talk about black on black crime, black on black crime. But when it's white on white crime, they got excuses. That's devious. So last thing I want to sit there and show you, and by look at that picture again right here. Wanted for escape when he was escapee. Grant Hardin, born December 6, 1968. He was 56 years of age, Caucasian male, approximately 6 feet, weight 259. So he wasn't no lightweight. So you can imagine him being the devil of the Ozarks, the kind of demonic stuff he will be doing, right? And imagine the kind of stuff he would be doing toward American blacks as well, right? But they don't want to talk about that. But he did white on white criminality. Oh no, he had to pay then. See how that goes, right? So I'm going to share the last thing. What's this? Oh. Last thing I want to share about him, and right here. Last thing I want to sit there and show. Make sure that's on here. All right. X. Hold on, right here. Ex violent cop murderer and rapist broke free from prison in Arkansas. Those whose lives he shattered all apart. You see how it goes. White on white crime, him being a rapist and a murderer. Oh my goodness, shattered lives. See how that goes, right? If it's something dealing with black Americans and something happened, some black American did this to some other black American person, well, they just violent. They're just violent. The majority of black males do not commit the most violent crimes, right? They love playing the little slick ass games, right? Who is it? I don't want to go into all that. So the whole point is, no, black American males are not the most violent people. Just like this particular, because people love trying to play that little one category only, overall, the murderer category. They love trying to show that or talk about that. And then you look at the criminal statistics and look at the difference between what they want to try to point as black, right, committing murder, and you look at numbers of white. It ain't no gigantic difference. And they surely ain't gonna talk about what about some of those black personnel. Maybe that was some self-defense. You see how they don't want to talk about that. But like in this situation here, when it's white on white crime, they quiet or trying to deflect. And the heinous category of RAPE, R-A-P-E, is done by more numbers of males within the predominant-based culture. But people keep trying to focus on the murdererness category. You see how the slick game goes. So Grant Hardin are the devil of the Ozarks. Again, he was a monster. For him to be called the devil in the Ozarks, he was a monster. Likely exploited weakness in the correctional system to escape for nearly 2 weeks. But it wasn't no racism toward him, of course. That makes no sense. It wasn't he's anti-law enforcement, right? He wasn't, oh my goodness, he's not, look what he did. It didn't make numbers of males within various parts of Predominate culture feel ashamed with their head down and feel uncomfortable. People weren't staring at various Anglo males in those areas. They said, oh, are they going to do something else? Nope. You see how the double, triple standards go, right? And the sister knows it. And there's numbers of people within various parts of Predominate culture. They know it. Right? And there's some good ones and some bad ones. Some of the good ones definitely know, right? I'm going all that. So The former rural Arkansas former police chief, Grant Hardin, had earned the epithet Devil of the Ozarks because of the 2017 murder and separate 1997 ROP, to which he ultimately admitted white on white crimes, white on white crimes, white on white crimes. See, that people don't want to talk about that. Basically, it's overall black and black crime, black and black crime, black and black crime, right? And you got some nerve with some black adjacent runners that ran from an ancient continent, people that ran from some of the main beautiful, main Caribbean islands, the one that's ran from, right? There's no pan-Caribbean love for one another. Look what's going on in Haiti. You don't hear various other Caribbean islands jumping up and running to Haiti because they know better. You don't hear the pan-Caribbean love running toward Cuba, right? And what's going on in Cuba? You don't hear no pan-Caribbean love saying, we're going to demand the power structure in the U.S. lift their embargo of our Caribbean brothers and sisters in Cuba. Nope. But how many flee, right, from some of those places, like Jamaica and some other places I'm talking about, and then have a nerve to try to look down upon American blacks? The nerve, right? And then we hear something about some of them, what the ones applies to. And some of the personnel was in certain parts of Africa, the one this applies to. What major tribalism going on consistently every day, fleeing from people that look like them. But at the same time, when you hear stuff like this, hey, fleer, black adjacent hotter, are you going to talk about this right here? Oh, well, oh, okay. That's cowardly. Because how many of them, oh my goodness, black people always talking about racism and stuff. Then came his recent escape from prison by disguising himself as a guard and taking cover in the surrounding wilderness. Much of the U.S. was gripped by Hardin's brazen May 25th, 2025 breakout, a riveting epilogue of sorts unfolding in real time to the 2023 documentary whose title gave him his evocative nickname. In the criminal complaint filed after Hart managed to flee Arkansas Calico Rock Prison by impersonating a facility correction officer, investigators asserted that he had extensive knowledge of the surrounding Ozark Mountains region, had possibly been hiding in the caves of rugged terrain there, and may even have fled the state. It would turn out that he would be caught late on Friday afternoon, a couple of months ago, when he was captured, less than 2 miles from the prison he had escaped from. His identity confirmed through fingerprints, according to authorities. Spectacular as those details may be to casual observers, Hardin's 13-day dash for freedom terrified those whose lives were shattered by his crimes, and those who worked to bring someone they once took as a federal law enforcement to justice, right? White on white crime. White on white crime. Where's the outrage at white on white crime? Where's all those deviant personnel that love talking about black on black crime, black on black crime, even to some coons within certain parts of American blackism? Where are those coons at? Right? They love talking about, well, yeah, black on black crime. But they don't want to say a damn thing about white on white crime like that. Oh, they know who they are. Some gullible ones, some naive ones, some black adjacent hodders that fled themselves, that know nothing about American black history and have the nerve to fix their damn mouths and talking about black folks, not knowing a damn thing about what black American people got to continue to keep going through, but they fled themselves for people that look like them. The nerve. It will turn out that he will be caught late on the afternoon, less than 2 miles from the prison he escaped from. His identity confirmed through fingerprints according to the authorities, right? I read that already. A local police chief whose department had a hand in securing Hardin's plea of guilty to robbing a local school teacher Anglo school teacher, has said the survivor in this case, who has chosen to publicly identify herself as, you see the person I hear, was appalled, concerned, and disappointed. She had the opportunity to let her guard down and live her life, and we're back to pre-conviction days. Cheryl Tillman, the mayor of Gateway, Arkansas, the town of about 450 residents, were hardened and spent 5 months as a police chief before his imprisonment. He told the same outlet that news of the breakout had brought back all the memories of how the fugitive had fatally shot her brother, James Appleton. White on white crime, white on white crime. He's just an evil man, Tillman reported said of Hardin, adding that she had initially been hesitant to even go to work out upon learning of the breakout. He is no good for society. Again, that didn't make numbers of personnel stay in their houses or look at various males within Panamese culture with double eyes looking at them and seeing, oh my goodness, hope they don't do wrong. Oh my, hope they don't flip out. Nope. You said it goes. But a black man is grouped in when some black males do some criminality. Some. Because most don't. But when some do that, it's grouped in as black American males. The freaking nerves of some people. As Harder recaptured, Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders issued a triumph statement on X saying state residents could breathe a sigh of relief. Almost finished. Hard 56 began his career in law enforcement, working for police and the Arkansas cities of Fayetteville, Huntsville, and Eureka Springs from 1990 to 1996. Each of those communities sits in a densely forested Ozarks, the mountainous and rural region that is mostly in northern Arkansas and southern Missouri, and is popular with lovers of the outdoors. So actually, I'm going to stop right there on that. So he probably didn't get a chance to see extremely lot of black personnel, but you best believe if he did, you think about how he treated them, the ones he saw, all the hatred he would love to have roped them up. Just because, right? But again, the white on white crime, white on white crime, white on white crime on this situation is not going to be talked about. But when it's a black American male and some do some wrong things, again, then black American males is put in collective a box. Oh, look at those black people. They're always committing crimes. And there are just not enough black Americans. They say enough of this one-sidedness. And to start calling out people on white on white criminality, or calling out black adjacent hodders that fled from their places and calling their criminality out of their own people. Right? I thank you for tuning in to the Real CP Show.